Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Flesh Wound Farce, where we discuss and review your and our favorite and not so favorite comedy films. This is the world's first and only combination trivia host and professional wrestling announcer of Chilean descent that currently resides in Southern California, Ozzy V. And with me as always on this program, first in the Northern California Bay Area, Greg. How you doing, Greg?
Ozzy, outside of having to watch this movie, I'm doing pretty good. Although, should we do one of these in the corner for the signal in the movie? No, not gonna.
I'm all right.
Nobody.
Yeah,
all right.
And of course, Flesh Wound producer Todd, chilling 99% of the time, or is tonight a 1% night?
Well, I don't know what percent I'm upset with you, but we'll find out.
Okay, first of all, we did review Mystery Men today, and it wasn't the greatest, but we'll get into that in a second. As we've started doing, I found an Japanese commercial actually featuring Ben Stiller. These are just past commercials. I try to look up whatever film we're reviewing or discussing. I try to find a star from the film, the previous commercial that they've done, as we've done with Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall. So this week we have Ben Stiller. Todd, if you would please do the honors for Ben Stiller in this Japanese commercial. I apologize for the resolution, of course.
Kieran! Go, Kieran, yeah!
Hi! キリンチューハイ氷結果汁大好きだろ分かってるって絞りたての果汁をそのまま氷結氷結だから爽快フレッシュキリンチューハイ氷結果汁絶好調うますぎだようますぎだよ
Okay, so that was a commercial for Kieran. I have to describe what were for the audio or the audio listeners is that you had some cheerleaders on a football field cheering for Kieran, and Ben Stiller shows up, and it appears that he's got these frosted tips. It is a low resolution video, so I do apologize, but moving forward, and somehow Ben Stiller gets encased in. Todd, are you okay? What was that? Are you okay? What's wrong right now? Are you having an earthquake?
Yes. You don't feel it over there?
No, I don't. I just, heard your stuff moving around. I was like, oh my God, is he okay? Or
I hit the mic when I put my hand up.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
I wasn't ruffling papers. I'm not Dan.
Sure. Okay.
We're in a haze from this last movie and commercial.
Yeah,
so.
that's a fair point. But at the midpoint in the commercial, it appears that Ben Stiller gets encased in ice or like a plastic bag. I can't really tell, unfortunately. And then there's a football that comes out of nowhere, and then all the football players come at him. But then he has one of these fruit beer cans thrown at him. And it was just Kieran, which is what the commercial was for. And if you haven't heard of Kieran, probably was an effective campaign. Now, I mean, if you are listening to this on the audio version, you got to check out the YouTube because we'll have the link in the description. Thanks to YouTube, Ana Nucia Tempresa. Like I said, we'll have the link in the description. But Greg, how did you feel about this commercial?
I think I brought this up. I forget if it was Eddie Murphy or Arsenio Hall that I brought this up with, but I don't always understand why these celebrities do some of these, commercials from all over the place. They're not getting paid a lot, but then we watched Mystery Men and I was like, step up. So it made a little bit more sense.
Yeah. Todd.
He's right. My favorite thing I watched today. So,
but anyhow, so that was that commercial for Japanese commercial for Kieran featuring Ben Stiller. Now,
we didn't mention though that he's like speaking he's speaking Japanese.
Oh yeah, it's speaking as in dubbed in, obviously, sure.
But that made it even more hilarious that it's like obviously not him.
And
His
then on
voice.
top of
The
that,
voice.
it's like a clear Japanese, like someone who actually does speak Japanese is
Right,
doing that
exactly.
dubbing.
Like
But
it
then the
wasn't
football
Eddie
players-
Murphy doing it.
Well, he just
Right,
spoke
right.
English. He's
Yeah.
like, you got to give me an extra million to speak
Yeah, right.
Japanese.
It was quite the 30-second adventure.
It was.
Now, speaking of adventure or journey, maybe you could say, was Mystery Men. This was released on August 6, 1999, rated R, with a runtime of 2 hours and 1 minute.
Mm.
As Todd hangs his head in displeasure.
Respect my time. That's all I ask of a movie.
This film stars Hank Azaria, Janine Garofalo, William H. Macy, Kel Mitchell, Paul Rubens, Ben Stiller, Greg Kinnear, Jeffrey Rush, among others. Synopsis reads, Champion City already has a superhero, the appropriately named Captain Amazing, played by Greg Kinnear, but that does not deter the city's 7 quirky amateur crime fighters who use the captain's capture at the hands of villain Casanova Frankenstein, played by Jeffrey Rush, as motivation to prove themselves. The only problem is that their strange powers, silverware hurling, bowling, shovel skills, incompetent invisibility, and deadly flatulence aren't doing them any favors.
Or us.
That's a fair point. Reading that aloud, I gave it a read over before we started recording. It's just, yeah, that's how it sounds, and it's exactly. Don't expect anything more. Like because I imagine because there's another voice in my head that's hearing this and is like, what? If I kind of wish I read the synopsis before I chose this film. Like, my intent. I'm one of the many people excited for this week. We get the Snyder cut of Justice League, and we also got the Avengers coming on PS5. And I don't know, it's NFL free agency. It's an exciting week.
Don't we have the Falcon and the Snowman also, or the Falcon and the
Falcon and the Winter Soldier? It's an exciting week, and I was like, are there any parodies out there that have a team superhero vibe?
Should have went with your gut one.
Blank Man? That was a solo.
It was a solo.
Like he was Blank Man by himself.
I get it, Justice League, but it's still superhero. We could have gave it a pass. Well, then I'm requesting Howard the Duck next superhero movie. I'm just telling you now.
In hindsight,
yeah.
Wow. So, Greg, I went over mine. How about your initial thoughts?
I think we all know. By the way, we've already talked
short
about it.
And sweet. Todd,
that being
pretty much the same. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's just on that description, it could go one or two routes. You could be like, oh, they're really taking this movie kind of seriously of trying to make this like a more serious, funny movie, or like it's so like out there stupid, like way out there stupid that it would possibly work. Right, but they tried too hard and they fell just as hard.
Yeah, we could have got Zoolander, but we got Zoolander 2. So there's that. It's funny because I've been on a kick this week of watching a bunch of like 90s movies, and this was like the capper of today I watched it. 99. The movie's very 90s, but it's also like everything 90s that I don't want to remember. The bad CG, the ending the movie with All-Star, that just drove me insane. Yeah, so
the cast is phenomenal though.
Yeah, the only one who didn't really annoy me in this was Janine Garofalo. Everyone else kind of did.
Right.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because for me, the parts where I laughed the most, which it's kind of like being the nicest guy in prison. In this case, was any time that she would talk to her bowling ball, because Janine Garofalo playing the bowler, and the bowler containing the skull of her dead father, who had a similar superpower. And you wouldn't hear him talk. She would only react to him. And that made me laugh because it was the only part of the movie where I felt, oh, no one's trying to make me laugh. Like, no one's trying to be funny. Like, it's like Leslie Nielsen, like it said, like on tons of talk shows or whatever. The key thing in comedies is that play it serious. Don't try to be funny, because the minute you try to be funny is what the minute you lose the audience. And I felt that happened a lot. Which, you know, I mean, the spleen played by Paul Rubens, whose superhero power was the deadly flatulence. After the first time, it was like the first time was like, okay, and then it happened again, and then again. It's like, whew. I kind of got distracted a little bit after that. But I mean, it's unfortunate because I don't have a lot to say about this, despite the cast. Sure,
Yeah, it was good to see.
Jeffrey Rush is a villain. Like, it's just, I don't know what happened here.
It was good to see Pee Wee Herman working again in that period of time.
Yeah,
he was at the top of the casting list then. So
yeah, it's just kind of fell flat, and I hate to go into this so quickly, but we can still discuss it. But it was probably like a 2 out of 5 for me.
I'm a 2.
Yeah. I think we're all 2s. Like, it was like rough.
And the only reason I give the 2 is because it was an actual effort put into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it had to get, you know, some green, but now this was actually apparently a comic based on a Dark Horse property. So they're potentially, I kind of got the sense that they were kind of like, oh no, we're only making this one, but you guys want another one? Like, just in case. Like, towards the end, like, it got that sense, like, you could really see, like, oh man, this could be a great IP if people just like it. Because I got the sense that whoever greenlit it was more like, well, I don't see it, but it's a comic book thing. Maybe somebody else will.
Different time.
Like, that's like the sense. Yeah, like, it was a risky time in 1999. People were, you know, at the top of their game because, you know, no discussion, but still, it was again a different time, sure. But holy Toledo, that was a risk.
We were 3 years away from Spider-Man coming out, so that gives you a little perspective. The Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Right. And people were afraid of Y2K at the time, you know, so they're just, you know, bucket list things.
The fact,
you know, getting
here's
them out
the
of
thing,
the way.
there's evolution. You had to come from somewhere. You know,
right.
We all, like, granted, this came out 3 years before Spider-Man, but this also came out 3 years before Old School. So
they were the same year.
2002. I'm fairly certain, because I remember that was my senior year of high school. And I remember not laughing as hard as I had in the theater. And that and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back were two most times in high school.
Yeah, it was 2003.
Laughing so hard.
Well, you know why? It's probably because that one, like, I consider a comedy classic, and this one just kind of falls by the wayside. So the fact that they're same year and it's been like almost 20 years is kind of weird.
Yes, well, in terms of Mystery Men, it does kind of just feel there. It's
right.
a movie that would maybe be entertaining to like a 11-year-old. Like, if here's the thing. So one of my
11-year-olds are watching Avengers by now.
No, but check this out. If I tell my nephew, be like, if my nephew is like 9 or 10 years old and be like, hey, I'm gonna let you watch a PG-13 movie, and I could show him this and everything would be fine. And he'd probably
yeah.
He'd be like, this is PG-13.
PG-13 movies are the best. Well, at least it killed 2 hours for you, kid.
That's the thing. Give me 90 minutes. There was no need to make this thing an hour, 2 hours, and 1 minute. If you respect my time a little more and cut it down, I may have been a better movie. Pace it out a little bit. I don't know. I don't think that would help.
This definitely was set up to have a faster pace, I think, in its whole setup. Greg?
Considering my favorite joke in the entire film was probably within the first 3 minutes of the whole thing, and then from there it was just downhill. There's just a moment, Blue Raja's opening line, there's like this battle going on, and he goes, "Pardon me, fatty." And I don't know why, but just the accent and how like flat it was when he said it, I died laughing, and then the rest of the movie I was like, oh.
Hank Azaria trying to get canceled again.
Right?
So yeah, that was a movie, I guess. That's my biggest
that was a movie.
compliment.
So we're gonna use mouthwash next week. We're gonna get this bad taste out of our mouth. We're gonna watch Airplane next week. Well, it might not be mouthwash for Todd because he's a dick, but Greg and me are cool. So Airplane next week because everybody in the world loves Airplane except for Todd because he's an asshole. So
Can we do an alternative and just do Caddyshack too?
how dare you?
Why?
You understand that if somebody's listening to this and they're driving, there's a 68% chance they got into an accident because of you.
Okay, as long as
You're
we don't do
a jerk.
as long as we don't do Top Secret, because yeah.
Well, I guess I'm surprised for 2 weeks from now is ruined. I'm just kidding, but I'm not kidding about Airplane. That's happening next week. Todd, what's going on Flesh Wound Horror?
We are a little under 2 weeks away from the 24th of May will be our 500th episode. So yeah, we got that going on. We got some reviews this Wednesday. We're doing Wednesdays live again, so that's fun.
In vivo.
Yeah, and then we got we're still in the middle of There's Always Room for Giallo, new episode tomorrow. You can catch up on the first 7 that are already I'd have to double check, but we're at least halfway through.
Right.
So that's what we got.
Greg, you got anything?
No, man, just looking forward to Avengers. That's about it, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. That's Flesh from producer Todd. That's Greg from the California Northern Bay Area. And I am Ozzy B. We'll see you next week right here on Flesh Wound Farce.